Hey guys, what is shaking? So, you've heard me say a million times before that before all else, before you tackle therapies and medicines and doctors, one of the biggest things that I waited too long to do was getting your mind right. Listen, this disease attacks your mind. That's what it is. It's a neurological disease. So, why wouldn't you want to treat the point of attack, which is your mind? You have to get your mind right. You guys know that I've been practicing mindfulness, gratitude, positivity, living in the now. And I came across this book that absolutely blew my mind. And I listen. I know you're not going to run out and buy it, and I want to give you the Cliff Note version because I know it will help tons of you, if not all of you. There's a doctor named Dr. Ellen Langer. She's a Harvard professor. She studied for over 50 years how the mind and the body, how the mind affects the body. She wrote a book called The Mindful Body. She believes, just like everybody else, that stress is a silent killer. I mean, listen, it will do horrific things on your body, and especially with Parkinson's. She did a lot of studies with people with Parkinson's and how mindfulness can help those symptoms. But again, I want you to be a believer just like I was. So first, I'm going to give you a quick little briefing, so to speak, on before I get into her philosophies. I want to tell you about some of the studies she did because, again, they're mind blowing. But usually, we know that stress could affect us in a negative way. But she's proving how stress can affect us, how good thoughts and mindfulness can affect us in a good way. So I want to tell you about her studies first. She is a huge believer in the placebo pill, which is just ultimately a sugar pill that does nothing. And she goes in to say how, like, before drugs can get approved, they have to do studies with placebo. And let's face it, they're rooting for not the placebo, they're rooting for the drug because they want to sell it. But the funny part is, those people who think that they're fixed, their symptoms are better without the placebo. I'm sorry, with the placebo and not the pill. What is it that ultimately cured them? Their mind, because nothing was going into them. So again, she's a huge believer in the placebo. Some of her studies are mind blowing. And again, she's not somebody who's just shouting from a rooftop or a mountaintop, "Hey, think positive, and positive things will happen." She's putting the proof to the pudding, which I can appreciate, and that's why I was a believer immediately. One of the studies that she did was she went to what was it? She went when you go to the optometrist and you get how you have the chart that you read and there's so many different lines. She believes that we're pre beaten into our system, so to speak, that if you get down so many lines that your eyesight's good. So she brought, let's say, half of 100 people. She had 100 people. Let's say she brought them, I want to say, to optometrists to read it. She took all the measurements as far as how far they got down. She brought them back another week later and took one line off it looked the same, but she removed one line. Those people got further down. She brought them back again. She removed another line. Those people got further down than they thought. So again, their eyesight was better than they thought. It's just that they were pre-programmed in our brain that only so much is good and bad. Like, we're only programmed to get to a certain point, which I found amazing. She did a very interesting study about. She took housekeepers and maids, and she would ask them, how do you work out and stay healthy in the course of a week? And then most of them, if not all of them, said, "Listen, there's no time to work out. We're constantly working." She took half of them and tried to make them believe and showed them studies how certain things that they're doing in the course of their day that they consider work, like making a bed or moving this way or cleaning this, or is an actual physical motion that she would do in the gym. Same as she's working out in a gym. For 30 days, after 30 days, those housekeepers that she had believing that their job was actually working out lost weight, and the other half didn't because it was in their mind. She did. What's another one she did? She took elderly men, all men above 80 years old. She took half of them and put them in a controlled environment. And now, what I mean by controlled is she forced, like, 20 years earlier down their throat. Made them dress, gave them nothing but clothes from 20 years prior. Made them watch movies and news clippings and studies and baseball sporting events from 20 years prior. And she tested them on the way in and tested them on the way out. And every single one of them, all the things that she tested, their eyesight, their hearing, blood pressure, everything was better after that time. Again, nothing created that other than what she was putting in their mind, that they were younger. And like I said, it's easy for somebody to say, "I just stay positive." But when you see things like this, it really proves to you, how positivity. I mean, listen, your mind can make you sick, but your mind can heal you too. She's a huge believer in the fact that life is just an event, a series of events. In that 24-hour period, it's just a series of events. For example, if you're walking and somebody taps you on the shoulder and you get startled, why, at what point in history did that become something to be afraid of? It's just a human response. When you see somebody vomiting, why do you feel like you're going to vomit? Again, it's in your mind. You can will yourself sick and you can will yourself healthy. Her main belief, I want to say, she says, you have to have a greater acceptance of the fact that the world is an uncertain place. It's filled with uncertainty. That doesn't mean negativity. It just means uncertainty. She's a huge believer in mindfulness, but not the way that you would think. A lot of people think mindfulness is meditation, where you have to get into this altered state and be all kinds of zen and zone yourself out. She kind of believes in what I believe. She wants you to be just the opposite. She wants you to be completely connected to the moment. Gratitude, mindfulness. She wants you to be in tune with the sights and the sounds of it and everything going on at that moment and appreciative of it. She also feels that, like you've heard me say prior, she believes that we are kind of, in some degrees, pre-programmed to fail at an early age. We're taught early on to try and be accepted by everybody and how important that is. And who set the standard where we have to have everybody love us? I mean, you'd like for that to be the case, but you can't live your life in fear that somebody's not going to like you or why they don't like you. She says that who set those parameters? You can't be anxiety ridden over trying to hit certain parameters and successes based on what you thought was a success at a young age by somebody who set that parameter that you don't even know a million years ago. Who says you have to be rich to be happy? Who says C is a passing grade? It's kind of crazy when you think about this. You're letting somebody dictate your life and your emotions based off a standard that was set, or a notion that was set a million years ago. And she calls that not mindfulness, but mindlessness. Again, you've heard me say in prior videos, mindfulness is living in the now, trying your best to appreciate that experience that in that moment, regardless of wherever you are in life, good or bad, is there to teach you something. And you're feeling it. Especially for somebody with Parkinson's, it's the biggest thing that you're getting. And this is kind of why I started this, is you're trying to continually fire up the neurons in your brain. And I feel like gratitude does that because it forces you to think. Listen, if you're married for 30 years and living in the same house for 30 years, every day you wake up, try and notice something about your spouse that you never took the time to notice before. Something about your house, a screw falling out of the cabinet, a picture, part of a picture a painting that you never noticed. It's just trying to fire up your neurons in your brain, starting your day off right with positivity, which will hopefully allow you to absorb positivity throughout the day. And not for nothing, but have an appreciation for those things as well. Listen, you cannot change the past. You can't change those moments of the past, and you certainly can't predict the moments of the future. So why wouldn't you just try your best to appreciate the current moment that you have? That's the only thing you have the ability to control, is how you feel at the current moment. I look at it this way. Even when you think about something in your past, you're thinking of it because you want to experience that good feeling again. You want to feel that in that very moment how you felt then. So it's pretty crazy when you think about life that way. It's filled with possibilities. You always want to believe yourself to be healed, not to be sick. One of the things she said that hit home was a lot of the verbiage we use. She used the word try. She hates the word try. She says, while people think, oh, just try your best. When you use the word try, you're almost setting yourself up. She said that it has a built-in connotation that you're setting yourself up for the expectation that you could possibly fail. Why do you have to fail? Why do you have to try to do anything? Just do it. You don't try to eat an ice cream cone. You just eat it. So you need to tackle all aspects of your life that way. Even things that are told that have a win or loss outcome, like a ball game. Like for somebody who enjoys sports and grew up playing Little League and all kinds of sports, don't live or die with every success or failure. Appreciate the moment. Appreciate the fact that you're having fun in that moment doing it and enjoying yourself. When you're pessimistic, you're waiting to fail based off standards that somebody else set for you that are ultimately going to trigger an anxiety response. So why do it? Be optimistic. And again, it starts when you start preaching positivity and enjoying the current moment. That's going to teach you. It's going to lead to a healthier life. I see it already. She believes that just because you get older, like, why do you become forgetful? It's not that you're forgetful. Maybe it's just that you've learned so much over the course of those years. There's no more room in your brain to take on anymore. You know, if your body hurts, a lot of people say, oh, I'm getting older. Maybe it's because of all the good things you've done in your life, you know, all the days of playing ball and going out with your kids and going to the mall and having fun. That's just catching up to you. It doesn't mean you're getting old. Be appreciative of why you feel that way. She says that you shouldn't be looking to add years to your life. You should be looking to add life to your years, which then will lead to a longer life. She's a huge believer in the fact that she thinks all of our anxieties and depressions come from, again, what society has pre-programmed us to fail. She used cancer as a study. She says, how come when somebody has cancer and they're in so-called remission, why is it called remission? Why aren't they cured? She said, why is it any different than a common cold? You know, when you get a common cold and it's gone, you don't just say, I'm in remission from my cold. You're fixed. You're healed. She said, because when you look at remission, you're just waiting for bad to happen again. You're just sitting there waiting for negativity to happen again instead of living your life, which will ultimately help you in the way you feel. And these are stressors that we continually react to. She believes in, don't worry about if you made the right or wrong decision, just make it. Make it the right decision. Because even though it might not seem like the right decision, even bad decisions, or what you would view as a bad decision, is taught to teach you something. I find her views amazing. I find the book fascinating. She even talks about like vacation. She goes, a lot of the times, why are we excited about vacation? Because we're going to experience something, sights or sounds or an experience for the first time. Again, firing up the neurons in your brain. I found her studies absolutely unbelievable. And like I said, I'm somebody who the proof is in the pudding. I just don't, if you tell me something, I'm not a huge believer in it. But when I read this book and I saw it, listen, I've always believed that stress can kill you. But I always believed it in a negative way. You know, like somebody says, you got to get those negative thoughts out of your head. You're gonna speak it into the world. But now this woman has showed me with proof that you could will yourself healthy. It's all about what you believe and what you put out there. You know, so kind of my main takeaway from this is, listen, you guys know I've been trying my best to practice mindfulness and I'm preaching positivity and living in the moment because, especially with this disease, for starters, it teaches you that life is short. Enjoy each moment. There's scientific proof now that shows you that living in the moment can help your symptoms. It's crazy. So by all means possible, especially with this disease, try and limit your stress any way you can. Stop worrying. Again, stop worrying about trying to add years to your life. Start adding life to your years. It's crazy when you think about it, but like I said, I found this book so fascinating. The Mindful Body by Dr. Ellen Langer. I highly recommend you see it, or just follow her on social media platforms. And she pretty much, you can find her anywhere. She's done a ton of studies, and again, I found it extremely, I'll say, hopeful. And I've started to do a lot of these things, and I see a huge difference in the way I'm tackling my life and the things that I let bother me and the things I don't. It made a big difference for me. But again, I've always been somebody who, probably like you, knows the effects of stress on the body, but always thought of it in a negative way, to not try to let it affect me. But I never thought that being proactive in positivity could will me to feel better as well. Listen, we got nothing else to lose, guys. Give it a try. Tell me your thoughts. Thank you.